Hi, my name is Joseph Alai. Welcome to my channel. And today I have something special for you. So as I mentioned in a few videos prior, I had a collaboration brewing with another person. And so this is that video. Now, if you don't know already, my channel is based on manifestation, getting exactly what you want in a laser targeted way. And a while ago, I had set into motion by writing it down and imagining that I had an excellent collaboration plan with someone. And then a couple nights later, I had an impulsive thought in my mind to message someone whom I had been watching for quite some time. So this person's name is Joseph Rodrigues. And a few years back, probably 3 years back or even more than that, I was on his channel because he does an excellent dissection and explanations and summaries of books. And so his channel is really based on entrepreneurship, which happens to be one of my greatest passions. But nevertheless, by watching his videos, I knew, even though he doesn't very much explicitly say it, but I knew that he was a manifester, someone that knew how to operate your subconscious mind, because if you go to his channel, you will see tons of books on the power of your subconscious mind, Napoleon Hill, Joseph Murphy, Neville Goddard even. And so I had the impulse to reach out to him, and in a perfect, miraculous way, he was totally cool with it, and he thought it was a great idea, because my idea inside was that the collaborations that I'll do are filled with integrity and mutually beneficial for both parties. And when I spoke with him in the other half of this, which you've got to check it out, no question, check it out. It goes into, he actually talks about, before the interview, is that he's like, did you manifest this? He was like, it was so perfect. I felt compelled to say yes. I could not say no. And so I did not deliberately manifest Joseph Rodrigues to do a collaboration with me, but nevertheless, I had manifested an awesome collaboration, and it just so happened that me and him both were perfect for this collaboration together. And so his channel, as I said, it very much focuses on step-by-step, which is what I love, on certain books and summaries of these techniques behind these books. And so I found it an integral part of my growth. And so what he's done in this collaboration is he goes into the formula and his style of explanation. So he watched tons of my videos. We had a lot of conversations, which were awesome. And he went in and he made what he does on his channel for my channel, which is basically a thorough summary and explanation of exactly how to manifest using the Joseph Alai techniques, which a lot of them is based on the works by Neville Goddard. So without further ado, check this out. I'm going to post the links below to the other collaboration in his channel. And so here it is.
Hi, my name is Joseph Rodrigues, and some of you might know me from my YouTube channel. Joseph Alai reached out to me about a month ago to connect and share ideas, and I checked out his channel. And I was very impressed of how he put everything together when it comes to relating Neville Goddard's information on creating reality, manifesting in a sequential way that is so easy to understand. These concepts have been so helpful for me because in my life, I was able to create a lot of success using the principles covered in Think and Grow Rich and the concepts from Neville Goddard. The concept is that you create your own reality, and you create your own reality via your imagination. So what I did was I went through a lot of content that was created by Joseph, and I also had a very deep interview with him where I reflected upon his process, his exact process for manifesting that he shared on this channel and shares extensively throughout his videos. And we did a lengthy interview on my channel. I'll put a link in the description. I recommend you watch it. Plus, we did another discussion in which we went deep into the process, and we got into very, very interesting elements related to the manifesting process. So what I want to do is share with you his process and give you my experience and dimensionalize it further based on myself using this very information to create the reality that I now enjoy, which has really been ongoing since about 2004 when I discovered Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. And it was at that point when I started to realize certain kinds of concepts of how reality works that I was never exposed to before. And working with the information, such as cleansing my subconscious mind from negativity, specifically fears, doubts, and indecision, I was able to manifest getting out of $50,000 debt. And then further working with the concepts within the book, I was able to leave in 2008 and start an IT business in which I was able to grow it to 50 clients, and then I transitioned out of that and got involved with other businesses. And a lot of the success that I have in my life, arguably all the success I have in my life, I credit towards working with my subconscious mind. So you might have already been aware of this through Joseph's discussions, but we have our conscious mind, we have our subconscious mind. So the conscious mind is the mind that is responsible for thinking and essentially protecting and guarding the subconscious mind and directing information to go into the subconscious mind in a very meaningful way to allow the subconscious mind to do the work to manifest and create reality. So through the process that Neville Goddard outlines and what's discovered and shared on this channel, Joseph Alai mentions working with your imagination. So on that note, what we're going to talk about in this video is the entire process that Joseph outlined to me and how I actually worked with it. I actually used this the other day in a very interesting experiment to try it out, and it worked really well, and I'll share with you the story as well. So let's start off by sharing my experience of this entire formula before we get into it. So Joseph and I jumped on a Skype call, and he outlined to me the process, and we went back and forth because we were connecting his information and my experience with working with this information and kind of connecting it together so that we can come up with a formula, which is mainly Joseph's formula, but I added a few pieces to it based on my experience, and then we kind of came up with this together. Now, he asked me to go through an entire process, which was the process that I documented here, and I used it to have a certain imaginary experience, which was the manifesting scene or the imagination, working with my imagination to create a certain outcome in my relationship with my girlfriend. So we were having a conversation, and it was a difficult conversation. And what I decided to do was work with Joseph's process here to imagine in my mind having an ideal outcome, which was in the spirit of harmony, which would be beneficial for myself and my girlfriend to come together on a certain topic that we weren't seeing eye to eye on. So the power behind this is that if you work with your imagination and you can imagine yourself creating an ideal outcome, even with another person, it will manifest. So if you follow this process, it will manifest. So this is what ended up happening. We went through the process. After I documented this, I went through the entire sequence in my mind. A handful of hours, my girlfriend came over, and I had the exact experience that I had imagined in my mind with her, and we moved into a higher state of vibration or a higher state of consciousness in our relationship and manifested the exact intended outcome that I desired, which was actually the intended outcome that she desired. So that was very interesting. Now, a couple things ended up happening that really was kind of a positive side effect as a result of this. A handful of hours later, my girlfriend and I decided that we were going to go and look up lucid dreaming. So we went and we watched a couple videos on lucid dreaming. And a large emphasis in that video was put on observing your hands. So I don't really watch a lot of videos where people say, okay, observe your hands and visualize your hands. And I was wondering why this showed up, not really while it was happening, but the next day. And I realized that it was connected to the visualization that I did with Joseph, or through the process that Joseph had outlined to me. So in other words, not only did I manifest and create the intended outcome by using this process that I'm revealing to you right here, but the very visualization elements in my imagination that I was using in the process started to manifest in different ways, which really opened up a whole different layer and different levels of understanding of how this stuff works. So not only did it work for me, but then I also realized that a couple of things that I did with Joseph, as well as through the imagination process that he had outlined with me, actually connected me to my definite chief aim, which was another goal that I had. So the way I look at reality from working with everything is that everything is related to my definite chief aim. So in other words, anything that you desire to manifest, everything in the world conspires. People, circumstances, and environment conspire to make your goal a reality. And the only thing that could prevent it from happening is any kinds of fears, doubts, and indecisions that we have in our mind. So the more we clear our subconscious mind, the more we will allow the manifestation of that what we desire in the most harmonious way. It's because fears, doubts, and indecisions essentially manifest as well. But if they don't have that much of a grip on us and we trust this process, we have faith in the faith in the process overrides those. And eventually it starts to get released from the subconscious mind. So it's my opinion to, while you are working with the information that Joseph shares in his channel and the stuff that Neville Goddard talks about, that you also work on cleansing your subconscious mind from fears, doubts, and indecision. Now, for me, the journey of manifesting this, most of my desires in my life came through entrepreneurship. But one of the distinct elements that I had learned from Joseph in our conversations is that if I throw in a bias for how I'm going to manifest, then I'm actually taking away from the process of manifesting in the most harmonious way. And this is why Neville Goddard and Joseph always focuses on the feeling of the wish fulfilled, or the scene in the imagination that you recreate, and then just kind of dropping it, and then allowing everything else to harmonize in a way that's ideal. So because I had a strong bias towards creating everything through entrepreneurship or what I learned, I was still able to manifest my desires. But then when I met Joseph and we started working with this kind of stuff, I started to release any kind of beliefs or preconceived notions of how things would manifest. And I just kept focusing on the feeling of the wish fulfilled and dropping it. And then what I noticed is that it would harmonize, the world would harmonize, and everything would manifest in a way that was way better than I even expected, in a way that was the most unexpected way, and in a way that was in the most harmony with everybody involved. So really powerful stuff here. So let's get started by looking at this formula. And my hope with this video is that it'll further add to what Joseph has shared based on his research on Neville Goddard in his own unique way, so I can contribute more to helping you manifest. And we also did an interview that is on my channel. I'll put a link in the description of this video so you can check that out. Joseph and I talking about different experiences with the subconscious mind, and just a general interview connecting with each other and sharing our experiences. So what I've done is I took Joseph's formula and turned it into a 6-step process. So the first step is to formulate your desire. This is the formulating desire phase. So this is where you reflect and ask yourself, what are you drawn to? And what we're really interested in is the feeling. So there are things that we're interested in, and things that get us excited, and things that invigorate us, uplift us, and put us in a state of joy when we can imagine them. This is what I believe is our soul's desire. This is what we really want to create. And I believe this entire process is part of a bigger spiritual journey, but for the sake of simplicity, we're going to focus on manifesting here. So we'll keep it very simple. Ask yourself the question, what are you drawn to? What is it that you want to create that makes you feel good? And release any kind of judgment that you have on it, because that feeling is unique to you. It's what you want to create. Now, when you've asked yourself what that is that you desire, you'll get some visions and ideas that will pop into your mind. So you could use one of these to actually run through the entire process. Now, a couple things that we want to keep into consideration as we talk about this is Joseph mentions false versus true kind of desires. Okay, so the desire has to be about this feeling that you are going to experience through a process of manifesting. Now, what that means is, like, let's look at an example right here. Some want to be debt-free. And I know that this was something that I had in my earlier stages, 2004, wanted to achieve for myself, being in $50,000 debt. So when we start to think about being debt-free, one of the things that comes into our mind is how to become debt-free. So in our imagination, we want to release the how, and we want to focus on the feeling of being debt-free. So imagine that feeling of being debt-free. So thus, from there, we can take this information and craft our definite chief aim. So if you're a fan of Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill, he talks about a concept called definite chief aim. And this is the object of your desire. This is what you're looking to create. This is essentially where you are navigating reality and moving all the forces and energies to materialize in the form of that which you desire. This is your definite chief aim. And in Think and Grow Rich, he mentions being specific on one singular definite chief aim. And the reason why I believe this is so, and this works really well through my experimentation, is because that keeps your mind focused. Because then you can kind of evaluate all the different synchronicities and signs and people that show up in your awareness as you move towards the end result, which is the manifesting of your desire, which will happen. So as soon as you go through this process, you can rest assured that it will manifest. And then the entire world will conspire to make it so. The forces of nature, people, circumstances, environment will show up in a way that supports you towards the vision. The question is, would you see it that way? But if you have one definite chief aim, you can reflect upon each experience and synchronicity that you have in the bridge of incidents, which we'll talk about later, and you can see how it's related to actually bringing you forward towards that destination of the feeling of being debt-free. So you might notice that certain people will show up in your life. You might notice you'll get access to certain kinds of information. Things might happen in the most unexpected way. And you would look at everything that shows up from a place of gratitude to realize and see that it is actually, and you'll be able to see it if you really look for this and reflect upon it, that it is related towards achieving that feeling, which is being debt-free. Now, this is not to be confused with the how. Okay, so there's a difference here. It's when you have gone through this process, the process will manifest, as in the feeling of the wish fulfilled, this visual state of mind in your imagination that we're going to create will manifest. That's an absolute. How it manifests, how it ends up playing out, is really up to the universe. You leave that over to the mind of divine to be able to create for you. So all you have to do is just go through the bridge of incidents and give gratitude to all that shows up, and it will guide you harmoniously towards that outcome. If at any point you have frustration or fear or doubts, then you're moving in a different direction. You forgot that the universe is actually conspiring to make your materialization true. So you have to catch yourself and release that. That's why I always recommend working on your subconscious mind and working on releasing fears, doubts, and indecision. Because if you think about it for a moment, it's really just fears, doubts, and indecision that could come up and stand in your way towards manifestation. So your definite chief aim, you pick one, which will be the one thing you're looking to manifest. And as a result, you'll start moving in that direction. Now, the first thing we want to do after we have figured out what our definite chief aim is, and in this case, we'll say to be debt-free, is to create a scene to impress the subconscious mind. So as mentioned, it's the conscious mind that directs information into the subconscious mind. The subconscious mind does not have the ability to accept or reject. It will just accept whatever. It doesn't have the differentiation, I should say, between choosing what to accept or reject. It's the conscious mind that does that. And that's why we say that the conscious mind is the guardian of the subconscious mind. And that's why it's important then to surround yourself with empowering and uplifting information, such as the videos shared on this channel, to further instill that you have the ability to create. Nothing stands in your way unless you allow it into your subconscious mind, because whatever goes into your subconscious mind will materialize, whether it's positive or negative. So what we want to do is we want to create a scene in our imagination that will impress itself, consciously created. This is where we're using the conscious mind to create a scene that will be impressed on the subconscious mind in a really effective way, that the subconscious mind will do everything that it needs to do. And you don't even have to know how, but it will do whatever it has to do with people, environments, circumstances, the energies, forces beyond even your comprehension to make your vision become a reality. So the way we do this is we use the six senses, and the sixth sense being the imagination. So we use all five senses if possible in our scene creation. So you're going to try to imagine taste, touch, sound, and smell, and visual. If you can't do all of them, that's okay, but the more real you can make this experience in your imagination, the greater the impression it's going to have in your subconscious mind. Now, if this is new to you and you haven't done this before, you get better at it with practice. So start this entire process with something simple that you want to manifest. And notice if you do it, as mentioned earlier to the story that I mentioned, if you do this really well, what you'll notice is even elements in your scene manifesting, like the hands example that I gave, which was totally unrelated and had nothing to do with my definite chief aim, but it still materialized in some shape or form. And I'll mention where the hands part comes up in a moment. So what you have to do then is create and imagine, or sit down and probably even articulate this and kind of map it all out, and see what kind of scene you want to create. So if it's being debt-free, the feeling of debt-free, a scene you might imagine is opening up your bank statement and having your friend beside you as you open it up, and then you pull out the bank statement and all the credit card debt is down to zero. And then what you will say in your mind, and we'll talk about why this is very important in a moment, is it actually manifested. The dream actually manifested. My desire actually manifested. I feel great knowing that I'm debt free, and you can even show it to your friend, saying, "This is what worked. This is what ended up happening as a result of using Joseph Alai's information or Neville Goddard's information. It actually ended up happening." So that actual scene would be an example that I just created right now that you would want to emulate in your imagination. Now, a couple key points that I had brought up as I articulated that is to anchor "this is mine," or that this manifestation, or that has manifested in your mind, to add accuracy. So a couple things is, when you are imagining in your mind this visualization, you want to anchor it and go a little deeper into it by saying in or imagining this in your imagination that the manifestation has come through, to create a higher degree of accuracy. So what you're doing is you're linking your imagining sequence, or your imagination, that part where the time in your reality where you had created that imagination and ran through the sequence, or created that in your imagination, and you're linking it to the outcome. And what that does is it makes it even stronger. So the subconscious mind is now creating that. It will manifest, and then you'll, as it manifests, link it back to the imagination. So it adds another layer of concreteness or power to the manifestation. So again, to recap, we're going to create a scene that involves as many senses as possible in our imagination. So we're going to draft it out, imagine that what to be. So the one that we decided to use was, okay, imagining yourself opening up an envelope, looking at your bank statement, and seeing that all the credit card statements are at zero, and you telling your friend that it actually happened as a result of working with this manifesting stuff. And then you thinking in your own mind how happy you are, or feeling in that moment how happy you are, because you realize in your mind, you actually run through the thought that this actually works. I was able to manifest being debt free. So you're not thinking about how it happened. You see that? That's the key distinction. You're just experiencing that in your imagination, the feeling and the visualization, and incorporating as many senses as possible of the feeling of the wish fulfilled. Now, to incorporate further senses, you could imagine yourself being on your driveway of your house and opening up the envelope, and on a hot summer day where maybe you can smell the flowers or the scents of summer. So you can imagine that as well. You can also feel the wind brushing against your skin. Maybe it's a windy day, and the sun rays on one side of your face because the sun is on the left side, let's say. So all these are important elements, and again, making sure that we anchor it in further with that one element of realizing that it was a net result of the imagination, by actually adding that element in there that's saying, I am so happy that this had manifested. And you're telling your friend, saying, this had manifested as a result of, back in the days, I did this imagination exercise. Okay, so now that we've outlined our scene creation and we know what we want to imagine, actually work with our imagination to begin this process, we want to put ourselves in a state akin to sleep. So this is where Joseph and I had a bunch of discussions of why this works. And I've gotten really deep into this stuff, and I study things like brain waves and certain states of mind and altered consciousnesses and so forth. But fundamentally, we want to impress the subconscious mind. We want to remove the conscious mind or rational kind of doubts, fears, indecisions out of the way, because we don't want any of that stuff involving itself in the imaginary experience. We want the imaginary experience to feel as real as possible. So that might be a synchronicity as to why my girlfriend and I wanted to look up lucid dreaming, because lucid dreaming is very much, dreaming or controlling your dream in a sleep state. So that might be some correlations there as far as synchronicity. But what you really want to do is put yourself in a state akin to sleep. So what does that mean? So essentially, without making this too complicated, you want to be in a very deep, relaxed state. So things you could do is you can meditate to get yourself in a relaxed state. You can breathe out through your diaphragm. Or what Joseph mentioned, which I thought was really interesting, and I'll share with you what I do, because I do subconscious mind affirmations with visualization, which is similar to the process that Joseph does. Is Joseph shared that what he does is he counts down from the number 300. Now, you don't get to a zero all the way from 300. So you're just going to count down 300, 299, and then you feel yourself getting more and more relaxed. As you count down, you're getting more and more relaxed. And then you're going to feel yourself being very relaxed. Maybe you'll be at 250, maybe you'll be at 200, you might even be at 280 or whatever. But so that really depends on you. You will feel very relaxed, and you will be so relaxed that it almost feels like you're tired and you want to take a nap. Now, if you get it really close to this, then that's the kind of state of mind that you want to be in for running through your imagination. So we've already got our scene created, and we have prepared ourselves for going and working with our imagination, impressing the subconscious mind. This is how we do it. This is the process. So the very first thing is you start constructing in the state akin to sleep your scene. And you start by looking at your hands, because you want this to be done from the first person. You don't want this to be you looking at yourself running through the scene, but rather you in the scene. So you want to be in the scene as yourself. And the way we do this is imagine ourselves looking at our hands and looking at our feet, looking at our hands and then looking at our feet, looking at our hands and looking at our feet in our imagination. So that's the first thing. So you are in the first person point of view. And this is why I did this with such depth and intensity that it ended up manifesting some way, somehow later on, even though it was not related to my definite chief aim. Then what you want to do is gently populate the scene in the first person view. So you'll add the visuals, you'll add your friend, you'll add your house, you'll add the trees, you'll add the sun, you will add different details of your house, and you keep adding until you can see it more in your imagination. It will look very vivid to you. And again, if this is new to you, it might seem difficult, but the more you practice this, the better you will get at it. So you'll be able to add more and more to your imagination, and it will look very vivid. You can add visual sounds and other people if it's applicable. And then what you want to do is press play. So imagine adding all this in, and it's kind of a frozen scene, and then you press play. As soon as you press play, you're going to run through the entire sequence. You're going to look at your hands, opening up the envelope, and you're going to take out the bank statement, and you're going to see that the bank statement, the credit card balance is at zero. And then you feel great as you realize that your vision has manifested. And you turn to your friend and you say, this stuff actually works. I manifested my dreams. I was able to create this by working with this information. I am now debt free, and you feel great. And you don't think about how, you don't tell them how it happened, you just play that over and over and over again till it feels natural. That's the key. So maybe you play it the first time in your mind and it doesn't feel natural. So do it again. Play it again. You reach for the envelope. You pull out the letter. And notice as I'm saying it, you might actually be running it through your mind and you're actually feeling it. So that's what you want. You want to do this again and again and again. Now, if in the process your mind wanders, and that's why I recommend practicing meditation as a whole in your life, because meditation really helps you control your mind. But if during this exercise, during this process, your mind wanders, don't judge it, don't be critical about yourself, just bring it back to the scene to prevent any negative feelings, because you don't want to infuse any negative feelings. So let's say if your mind wanders and you begin to get angry about that, that anger will be brought into the visualization as part of your senses, and we don't want that manifesting because we're impressing the subconscious mind. So we just want to release it and bring it back. And you want to, after a certain point of repeating this, feel this feeling of a deep satisfaction. You're going to feel that, wow, this is like, you're going to feel it, and you're going to know that feeling, because once that happens, it's done. It will be brought forth. It will be manifest. Now, there's a couple options that Joseph and I talked about, And the one that I did was just kept repeating it over and over again till I fell asleep. And he said that this has a lot more of a powerful effect, and I agree, because I've released trainings on subconscious mind and I help my clients with this. And one of the things that I always mention is to play the subconscious mind affirmation audios, visualize and emotionalize, which is the same version of this. This one is even more specific, Joseph's process, and fall asleep to it, because it's in that state between where you're kind of awake and falling asleep, where that will impress your subconscious mind even more. And that will have even more effect. So that's what I did. Or you could just drop it and let it go, because the truth is this: it will manifest. The seed has been planted. So Joseph also mentions what he calls the appointed hour. So every desire has its own gestation period. You can be sure that will manifest. So this is something that I reflected upon for years. How do you make it manifest faster? I believe it has everything to do with you letting it go and trusting the process and having faith and having less fears, doubts, and indecision in your mind. So this is why doing the exercises to release fear, doubt, and indecision, and raising up your self-esteem and your self-confidence and your self-love is very important, because then you trust your subconscious mind even more. And I even recommend having affirmations as part of this process to build a connection with your subconscious mind. So affirmation statements in which you build your connection with your subconscious mind would be as follows: I am so happy that every day I value and realize and honor the power of my subconscious mind. I realize that whatever I place in my subconscious mind will manifest. I'm conscious and aware of the kind of information that I take in via my subconscious mind, because I know it will be brought forth. If anything plays out in the external world that is undesirable, that is because there is programming in my subconscious mind that is projecting outwards. And as a result of that, I identify that and I heal my subconscious mind through processes of healing, self-love, appreciation, and auto-suggestions and affirmations. As I continue to do this, I build a further and deeper relationship with my subconscious mind. I realize that the subconscious mind is responsible for 95 or 99% of the manifestations without conscious thought. So I realize and believe and have faith in the power of the subconscious mind. I'm able to get answers from the subconscious mind. I trust my subconscious mind, and I realize that my subconscious mind is connected to infinite intelligence, which is the source of all information. I also realize that my subconscious mind is connected to the subconscious mind of all people, and I can manifest people, circumstance, and environment by opening up my connection by trusting my own subconscious mind. So stuff like that. So once you've done the imagination process, then it's set. It's going to manifest. And as mentioned, my belief is the only thing that can prevent it or slow it down is fears, doubts, and indecision. So then what you're going to start to notice is signs, synchronicities, and sprouts, as Joseph puts it, in the external world. Signs, synchronicities, and proof that it is manifesting. Maybe you'll start to see more debt-free signs. Maybe you'll start to get a hunch of something to do. Maybe you'll get an idea. Maybe you'll get a phone call. Maybe you'll get an opportunity. That's all going to be based on individual experiences. You will be moved and other people will be moved. So always remember this: the process of manifestation is not from a place of force. A good book to read is Power versus Force by David Hawkins. And on my channel, I did this whole discussion on it. But the idea is that higher states of consciousness, power does not involve physical, mental, or emotional force, and neither does manifesting. Manifesting is a very natural process that unfolds. You gracefully navigate reality towards the manifesting. You might be doing things, you might not, but everything is done from a place of joy, bliss, and ease. Now, you have to really make sure that you remove programming in your subconscious mind that believes otherwise. And that's why in Think and Grow Rich, Napoleon Hill said, if you believe that money comes as a result of hard work alone, perish the thought. Because if you believe, in the Bible it says, as you believe, so it shall be done unto you. So if you believe that your manifesting will be as a net result of hard work, it will manifest that way. And what we want to do is keep an open mind and have faith that will manifest in the most harmonious way. So this is where faith comes in. So you will wind up at the end result. And one of the things we don't want to be doing is comparing the present moment towards that end result that you desire, that imagination, from a place of negative feelings. So having doubts, fears surrounding it, or anything that where you say, I'm not there yet, where it makes you feel negative about it. Because what that is doing is it's focusing on the negative feeling, and that's impressing the subconscious mind, and it's adding the association to that imagination experience. Now, it will manifest regardless. It might end up just taking longer. So what do we do instead? We practice positive gratitude. So as mentioned earlier in this video, and this is a process I've been following for years, is the realization that everything and everyone, people, environment, and circumstance is helping you materialize that what you desire. Once you've done this process, it will be so, and everything is on and everyone is on your side. So give gratitude for every moment that you have and every experience that you have, and look at where you are right now as part of the gestation process. Now, as mentioned, some negative thoughts can arise and create bumps. I look at this as an opportunity. So why I believe that we have this process here today, why you have attracted this video and this conversation, is because this is part of a bigger picture, the soul's journey. And part of the soul's journey is to realize that you are the creator, that everything you ever want in life is yours. And by following this process and having faith, you will also reveal negative elements within yourself, potentially, if it exists within you. So that's where you can work on this stuff. You can release it through subconscious mind, reprogramming or forgiveness or gratitude or self-love exercise and so forth, so that you won't experience the negative thoughts. So the negative thoughts that show up are based on fears, doubts, and indecision that is based on you moving towards the materialization, and the materialization, or the element moving back over to you, however you want to look at it, the materialization of that vision that you have. And the fears, doubts, and indecision are actually an opportunity for you to cleanse that out of yourself. Okay, so this has been the entire process that Joseph and I talked about, and I further dimensionalized it based on my experience and some of the things that I've done. So I know that this stuff works, it works really well, and I work with this kind of information exclusively. So some of the things that I want to add to this, to really help you with this from my experience, is that I realized that I can have whatever I want in my life, and anything that I feel that I want is really my soul's desire. So nobody can tell you that you can't have it, and you can't even tell yourself that you can't have it, because you'll know that deep down inside it's really yours. And by following this process, you will materialize it. So the world is set up in a way where everything that you desire will manifest, and you work with a process like this to be able to realize the dream and your purpose here on this planet. And then you might move into things, if you choose to, where you share it with others and help others also realize it, as Joseph has. Another thing I've learned about this is you've really got to suspend the information that you have learned that was negative or disempowering, release it as a result of your five senses. Because what we're really working with here is the divine imagination, which is your sixth sense. Your sixth sense supersedes the five senses. Your five senses gives you an idea of what you want to create. It's part of the synthetic imagination, if you study Think and Grow Rich. And you get ideas of what you want to create as a result of what you see via your five, or what you experience via your five senses. But it's working with the sixth sense that will materialize your version of that, or your experience of that, as a result of the inspiration that you get from your five senses. And the five senses is there to educate you, teach you, inspire you to create, but it's not there to disempower you. And perhaps in different stages in our life, we accumulated negative information via our five senses that created shame, anger, resentment, or any of the lower levels of consciousness. And part of this journey is releasing that. And the more you release it, the easier it is to manifest and the easier it is to materialize. So I hope you enjoyed this video. You can check out the interview that Joseph and I did, in which we share our experiences. I was very happy that I was able to test this before. I put a link in the description to the video interview that we did. I was very happy that I was able to test this in an area of my life that is very personal to me. And by the way, speaking about the relationship that I have with my girlfriend, my relationship that I have with my girlfriend was a materialized relationship as a result of following this process. When I created this in my imagination, I materialized the ideal relationship. And interestingly enough, as mentioned, this is always in the spirit of harmony. When I asked her about it, she said she did the same thing. So this is some very fascinating stuff here. So I hope you enjoy this and benefit from this. And yes, if you want to copy the mind map, I'll also put a link in the description. I'll talk to you soon. Take care.